Good evening, and welcome to 60 Minutes. Tonight's episode is an exclusive feature that takes an up-close look on newly formed organizations. Are they peaceful reforms or a threat to society? Are the actions of these organizations legal, or do they disregard the law? Our team came upon three organizations: the Women's Program, Temperance Society, and Abolitionist Movement. First, we'll begin with Theodore Weld of Connecticut, who helped create the Abolition Organization and discuss slavery. Then move on to the other two organizations. I'm Ken Larkin, and this is 60 Minutes.
Hello, I'm Edward Warren. Today I have the utmost honor to interview one of the most controversial activists in the abolitionist movement. Today, Theodore Weld will be joining us to address not only who he is, but his motives and his inner principles. Theodore is best known for the book he wrote, which is called American Slavery as It Is. Hello, Theodore. Hello. So first off, what is your current occupation?
Well, as of now, I just make lectures to numerous universities throughout the United States. I've been doing this for years now, but that's my current occupation. Additionally, I created an organization, the abolitionist movement, but we'll get into that later.
Interesting. What were your early years like, and how were you educated?
Early years, I actually come from a humble background. I was born on a farm, and around the age of 14, my father lended me his 100-acre farm. I took over the farm. I was educated from my parents. I went on to the academy. After the academy, I went to college, and started out in college. I would give out lectures, and I majored in writing. But by age of 22, a sickness hit my eyes, so it caused me not to see anymore. So after that, my doctor told me to travel. He wanted me to travel through Europe, wanted me to travel all over the United States. So,
How did this sickness affect your everyday life?
it affected me greatly. Uh, it's actually hard to talk about sometimes, but nonetheless, throughout that oppression, I just decided to go on and still give my lectures, even though I'll have to do it at a minimal amount.
So Ted, may I call you Ted?
Yes, that's okay.
The sole purpose of this interview is to discuss this new organization. Can you explain to me what this organization is about?
Yes. After the sickness hit me, I met my wife, Alexis Kremke, and she's actually in another organization for women's rights. She's pushing for it. But this idea hit me by Charles Finney. He influenced me on this ideal that slavery should be abolished. I agree with him, and I've gone through and through to help him support it. About 2 years ago, me and my colleague, Charles Stewart, we decided to make up this organization that would abolish slavery. Now we know this is unpopular throughout the United States, particularly the South region. But with hard work, I think we can accomplish our goal.
Will all these actions be legal to accomplish your goals?
Now that's a hard question. More than likely not.
Do you think that these actions are a threat to society?
I wouldn't say a threat to society. I would say a threat to economic growth. The ability to change economics as it is today, because this is morally incorrect. We can't just take people and enslave them to do our work. It's horrible. It's an atrocity.
Yes, I somewhat agree with that. Do you believe that other people will follow your principles?
I think we can influence a significant amount of people to join our cause and cease this atrocity.
If you could give me an estimate, how many supporters do you think you have as of now?
Well, currently in our organization, we have maybe 100 or so students. We have these students coming over from the Northeast region particularly. But in another year or so, I think we can rally over thousands of people.
Okay. And I only have one more question here for you. If your organization was labeled as a terrorist movement or a threat to society or the government or it would hurt anybody, how would you go about justifying your organization?
I believe my sole justification for this organization is for doing the right thing. This, like I said earlier, is morally incorrect. A threat to society, like I said earlier, I wouldn't say a threat to society, I would say a threat to economic growth and a threat to radical economies. You know, switching from horrible enslaved ideologicals to actually doing the work yourselves, because that's what I believe the Southerners are doing. I mean, honestly, it's not the fact that they believe that slavery is okay. It's more than that. It's the fact that these white Southerners don't want to take in the time to do their own work. They want to have free labor. That's the whole central point of slavery. So instead of free labor, we should implement a policy. We should ratify in the Constitution that these white Southerners should in fact do their own work. Now, a threat to terrorism, terrorism ideal, I don't believe this is a terrorist act. No. I believe this is simply a group of members who have had an epiphany and are now implementing their principles to do the right thing.
Well, there you have it, folks. It's Theodore Weld, signing off.
So, Nathaniel, how did your master treat you?
Master didn't treat me like nothing. Master treat me like a hoe. He had me working outside all day. Didn't get to come inside for nothing. Didn't eat much. Didn't sleep much. It was hot outside. When I was a child, I grew up on that plantation. Master's wife taught me how to read and write. Let me know a little something. But I still rather be looking at these blank walls than to be on that plantation.
So what did you do to be incarcerated?
I led me a slave revolt. I got tired of it. Got me a bunch of slaves together, and we killed about 60 people. It wasn't malicious or nothing. It was malicious, but if they had it coming. They treat me like that, they gonna get it.
So would you take this revolt back?
I ain't taking back nothing. I ain't never gonna take it back, cause they ain't never take back nothing they did to me.
So what caused you to choose a violent rebellion?
Everybody trying to be so peaceful. Peace ain't never worked. You can't talk to nobody no more. You can't ask them nothing. You can't ask them to let you go. Oh, please let me out. Let me run up north. They ain't let you run nowhere. Let you go outside and pick that cotton. I ain't pick no more cotton.
How did you gain followers in your revolt?
I just told them. I said, this is what I'm about to go do. You can come with me, because I'm going to get up out of here. And they said, we come with you.
Were you brought with your family on the plantation?
I was brought up with my mama. My daddy left real early. My daddy escaped from slavery. And he ran up north. And I haven't talked to him, haven't heard from him. I hope he's doing real well.
So what are you thinking now? You think it was worth it?
I don't know. I haven't made that up yet. I guess when I'm hanging from that rope, I'll make up my mind and see what I think.
So, do you have any family here that's incarcerated with you, or do you know of him?
Mama ain't in jail. Mama's still back at the plantation. Mama wasn't real happy with me, but I'm gonna be alright. She gonna be alright.
Did you have any other siblings?
I didn't have no siblings. It was just me.
Well, you've heard it, folks. The Nathaniel Turner will be hanged in the next hour. But you've heard his words from the famous revolt. I'm Ken Larkin, signing off from 60 Minutes.
Were you working alongside any type of abolitionist movement?
Yes, I worked alongside John Brown and Frederick Douglass. They were stops along the trail that I had to the Underground Railroad.
I've done a little background research on the Underground Railroad. Is there any evidence that you can tell me about it?
Well, the Underground Railroad is a series of houses that led up northward towards the northern states and in Canada. It was originally just the northern states until around 1850, where they passed the fugitive slave laws, where slaves that were found in the northern states that were runaways could be returned back to their slave owners. So I rerouted it to Canada.
Were you aware that this escaping of slaves and this Underground Railroad, making your way up north, was illegal?
Yes, I was very aware, but people being enslaved was not right.
Were you at all scared ever?
Yes, all the time. Everybody was looking for me. They knew, eventually they figured out who I was. They were looking for me, went to signs. It's crazy.
When you were back on the plantation, did your master ever teach you to read and write? Like, did they educate you?
No, all I did was beat me.
Well, how are things for you now?
Well, now I am married. I have my own land in New York, and we adopted a baby girl, and it's just really nice now.
Well, that's good. There you have it, folks. Signing off for 60 minutes.
Hello, I'm Ken Larkin from 60 Minutes, and today we have Susan B. Anthony, and I'll be asking her a few questions today. Susan, what was it like growing up as a Quaker?
Well, growing up as a Quaker, it instilled great morals, and I just grew up to believe that in God's eyes, everyone is equal.
Okay, when did you get involved into the women's rights movement?
I didn't become involved in the women's rights movement till really after the Civil War, but
Why after the Civil War?
because I was very, very focused on getting rights for the slaves, very focused on the abolitionist movement, and I felt that getting rights for the slaves was way more important at the time.
So, what really inspired you to get involved in the women's rights movement?
Well, growing up as a Quaker, I told you this, that I see everyone in God's eyes as equal. So women not having the same rights as men really just got to me. And me being a woman, I want to have equal rights. So that's the main thing.
What else did you do to help protest for the voting rights of women?
Well, me and a good friend, Elizabeth Staten, we started many associations.
So, Susan, what else did you do to protest voting rights for women?
Well, me and a good friend, Elizabeth Staten, started the American Equal Rights Association in 1866. It advocated for equal rights for all genders and races. We also started a newspaper called The Revolution. It was a daily newspaper that advocated and talked about women's rights on a daily basis. Our motto was men, their rights, and nothing more. Women, their rights, and nothing less.
Okay. So Susan, recently I did some research. It actually reported that you were arrested for something. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, yes, I was arrested in 1872 for voting in the presidential election. I deserved my right to vote, and so I took it.
So you fought?
I fought, yeah. Got
Why?
arrested. I didn't really fight.
So why did you give up your fight?
Because I felt like I've been fighting for so long to get women's rights. And it seemed like nothing was happening to get these rights. So I just felt like there's nothing more I could do.
So you felt as you were back into a corner and you had no other choice but to fight back.
Good evening, Mr. Blackwell.
Good evening.
What is your current occupation?
Currently, I'm an activist assisting my wife in her works pertaining to the women's movement.
What were your early years like, and how were you educated?
I was born in Bristol, England. I have 8 other siblings. We moved to New York shortly after I was born. Unfortunately, a fire destroyed our refinery, and that, along with the Panic of 1837, caused me and my family to move to Cincinnati. My father established another refinery, and we've lived there ever since.
Interesting. What were your early accomplishments like, and what are your most proud accomplishments?
Long story short, my father passed away, leaving us poor, so me and my brother had to go and work as clerks. I went on to Kemper State University off in St. Louis, and that's pretty much it.
Do you have any? Can you tell me something about your participation in your wife's work?
Sure. Well, first off, she's a Mason. She is in favor of the abolitionist movement for slavery and also for women's rights. I assist her by giving lectures and organizing meetings and protests. One thing I also asked her is that her works are not solely her works; they're exclusive to her. We share the same principles and ideals.
What intrigued you to become involved in her works?
Her. When we first met, I met her at an anti-slavery lecture while she was speaking. She was hard to get. She was plain hard to get. I immediately fell in love when I heard her speak and when I first met her. But she was hesitant to fall in love with me, actually, because she figured, if we would marry and how the society was at that time, her rights would be lowered and she would essentially be living a life in paradox to her ideals and principles she was attempting to reform. So,
do you think that the federal government will or should get involved in your wife's organization?
No, I see no incentive for government interference, unless, of course, the Whigs intend to intervene or also take it under consideration. They are anti-Masons, but I digress. That's none of my business.
Are your wife's actions legal or a threat to society at all?
No, I see no law whereas it prohibits her to exercise in this reform.
Are you involved in any other reforms or anything else related to this matter?
As of now, no. I'm exclusively participated in the women's movement. I do, however, have the ideals that I believe slavery should be abolished. But as of now, no. I'm just assisting my wife in her reforms.
Well, I salute you in your efforts and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kid Larkin from 60 Minutes, and today I have the pleasure and honor of interviewing Jefferson Davis, probably the most prominent figure in the South. Excuse me. Jefferson, what is your occupation?
Well, I'm a planter in the South. I'm the richest man down South. I own a lot of property, a lot of land, a lot of slaves.
Okay. What were your early accomplishments?
Well, early on, I was in the war, and I fought in the war for a long time, a couple of years, and then I became a secretary of war for the government. Yes, sir.
What's your take on these different organizations, such as slavery abolitionists and women's rights advocates?
I just don't understand it. There ain't nothing wrong with what we doing right now. Ain't nothing wrong with our economy. Everybody's trying to change something, trying to be different. It's just, if you got a role in society, play your role. Don't be different than everybody. Just do what you can do.
So do you believe that women should have as equal rights as men?
I don't think there's nothing wrong with movement. I just don't think they should have equal rights. There's no purpose in it. They have a role. Like I said, they should just play their role. They should stay in the house, and they should do some work around the house. They don't need to vote and all that. There's no purpose in them voting. We already.
No women's suffrage? You don't believe it?
I don't believe in women's suffrage. There's no purpose in it.
Well, you heard it, folks. I'm Ken Larkin from 60 Minutes, and this is Jefferson Davis.
Hello, welcome to 60 Minutes. Today we're here to record part 2 of our Temperance Movement Society documentary. Here today we have an individual who feels strongly about the temperance movement and feels that it needs to be abolished, Chelsea Davis. Hi Chelsea.
Hi.
How do you feel about the temperance movement and this act to get alcohol removed from society?
I feel it is a load of bull crap.
Are you an avid drinker?
Yes, I drink every night. Drinks are my life.
So what are you going to do once alcohol is banned? How are you going to...
It's not going to get banned. Can't let it happen.
It's been banned. It is banned.
Not for me.
Well, how are you going to go about acquiring this alcohol?
Smuggling, and more smuggling.
Do you know anyone who can smuggle this for you?
Tons of people.
Interesting. Well, do you realize that that's illegal? That you can get in
Yes,
trouble
but
for
I
that?
do not care. I need my liquor.
You need it. So people like you are the reason that the government has gotten this ban. This sense of, I need it. This addiction. How do you feel? Do you feel yourself as like the reason that this has gotten banned?
No, I don't feel as I'm the reason. The government should not be able to control what I am doing with my life.
So you think that the government should have less power in society?
Yes.
Well,
They should not have the power to do this and control my liquor.
well, there you have it, folks. Hello, welcome to 60 Minutes. Today we have an interview with a member of the Temperance Society, Joshua Levitt. Hello, Joshua.
Hello.
What is your current occupation?
Currently, I'm just an editor for the Sailor's magazine.
Interesting. When did you start practicing law?
I started practicing law after attending Yale, but before then, I studied at Yale Theological Seminary.
What was your childhood like, and how was your early education? Like, how did you learn to read and write? Like, who went about that?
I was born in Heath, Massachusetts, in the Berkshires, and I attended Yale College. So,
What were your early accomplishments?
I was ordained as a congregation member, a clergyman at Stamford, Connecticut. I became a well-known attorney at a relatively young age, especially for anti-slavery cases, and I also published the Christian Liar in 1831.
What is the current movement that you've established yourself in?
Are you referring to the American Temperance Society?
Yes.
Well, yes, we established this organization in hope to prohibit further drinking and alcoholic intake. We feel it's really diminishing our society as a whole, and it needs to be suppressed.
Has the state government or federal government taken any aware to your society, given you any credibility, any?
No, not exactly. I wouldn't say so. The government has not contacted us. They haven't sent out anything. We're not getting anything from state legislatures or anything like that of that concern. So, to your question, I would say no.
Is this association legal?
Yes, but of course. I believe it's an organization with good intentions, striving to rid all the negative aspects and negative influences that can partake due to alcoholic intake.
What was your impetus to get started in this temperance movement?
My inner beliefs and what I was taught dating back to my early years from my father. I was involved in the Lot Amistad case. It was about these enslaved Africans that were being harassed on this boat and Quincy Adams actually came up with this ideal to take Africans back to their homelands. But no, I suppressed that, and I regarded that.
What made you get involved with anti-slavery cases?
Oh, actually, if you can pause.
Hello, welcome to 60 Minutes. Today we have an interview with a member of the Temperance Society, Joshua Levitt. Hello, Joshua.
Hello.
What is your current occupation?
Currently, I'm just an editor for the Sailor's magazine.
Interesting. When did you start practicing law?
I started practicing law after attending Yale, but before then, I studied at Yale Theological Seminary.
What was your childhood like, and how was your early education? Like, how did you learn to read and write? Like, who went about that?
I was born in Heath, Massachusetts, in the Berkshires, and I attended Yale College. So,
What were your early accomplishments?
I was ordained as a congregation member, a clergyman at Stamford, Connecticut. I became a well-known attorney at a relatively young age, especially for anti-slavery cases, and I also published the Christian Liar in 1831.
What is the current movement that you've established yourself in?
Are you referring to the American Temperance Society?
Yes.
Well, yes, we established this organization in hope to prohibit further drinking and alcoholic intake. We feel it's really diminishing our society as a whole, and it needs to be suppressed.
Has the state government or federal government taken any away to your society, given you any credibility, any?
No, not exactly. I wouldn't say so. The government has not contacted us. They haven't sent out anything. We're not getting anything from state legislatures or anything like that with that concern. So, to your question, I would say no.
Is this association legal?
Yes, but of course. I believe it's an organization with good intentions, striving to rid all the negative aspects and negative influences that can partake due to alcoholic intake.
What was your impetus to get started in this temperance movement?
My inner beliefs and what I was taught dating back to my early years from my father. I was involved in the Lot Amistad case. It was about these enslaved Africans that were being harassed on this boat and Quincy Adams actually came up with this ideal to take Africans back to their homelands. But no, I suppressed that, and I regarded that.
What made you get involved with anti-slavery cases?
Oh, actually, we can pause.
Has the state or federal government at all recognized your organization?
Yes, they have.
Is this legal?
I believe not, sir. This is just merely an organization with good intentions, striving to rid all of the negative tangibles that have the utmost possibility of negatively influencing our world.
What made you get involved with anti-slavery cases?
My inner beliefs and what I was taught, dating back to living on a farm with my dad. I was involved in the La Amistad case. This is where enslaved Africans on a Spanish ship rebelled and took control, essentially. I, alongside colleagues of mine, Lewis Tapman and Simeon Jocelyn, and we formed the Amistad Committee, and to raise funds for the defense of Amistad captives. It struck me personally. I believe that we should go for abolition. It's not only morally incorrect, but it's also strengthening Southern politicians, holding more seats in the House of Representatives, and it's giving an unfair advantage for Northerners to gain representatives. But aside from politics, first, it's morally wrong. So,
What was the Christian Liars and its intentions?
I published it in 1831. It was a tune book, so it was more recreational work.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you.
And this is Joshua Levitt.